G'day, hi, this is Julie. Welcome to my channel and welcome to my Beatrix Potter and Peter Rabbit videos. I have decided I want to make a journal of Peter Rabbit, and so today I thought I would just introduce Beatrix Potter and Peter Rabbit and some of the books that I have and show you, some of her art and her life and history kind of thing. It won't be a big, detailed explanation, just snippets here and there of what I've read of Beatrix Potter from the books that I own. So here on the shelf you can see a little collection that I have. So I've got pictures which used to be my mum's. Tom Kitten looks like. Sorry about the light. Jemima Puddle Duck. I don't know, Squirrel Nutkin maybe. And another Tom Kitten perhaps. No Peter Rabbit. And the books in the centre there, they were mum's too, but she just didn't have room for her Beatrix Potter collection anymore. So when she was having a clear out, I said, I'll have them. So they're here on my shelf now. But I've also collected a lot more Beatrix Potter books since then. Most of the other sort of bigger books I've collected at op shops and sometimes antique shops. Some of the little books I actually found in antique shops as well. For 50 cents. I mean, bargain. Couldn't help it. So even if they're duplicates, I'd still pick them up for 50 cents and just preserve them, because I just think the little books are so cute. And then down here on the shelf of the bookcase where I have other books that I'm keeping, I have some other Peter Rabbit books there that we're going to have a look at. The art book, Beatrix Potter's Art, the nursery rhyme book, and a couple of others that I'm going to show you. So these are all the books that I'm keeping and preserving, and I keep on one of my good bookshelves. So I will take some of them down into the back room and show you some of the books. See you soon. Okay, you can see I've got quite a few books here on the table. We can't look through all of them. However, I'll just pick out a couple that have maybe the bigger pictures for us to look through rather than going through the tiny one. But I will show you the tiny one first. So it's obviously the cutest. I love these little books. I love the beautiful covers. You get different colours and in the different printings. I think these ones were printed, well, this one says 64 on it, so it's obviously at least that old, but they usually don't have a date. But you can research Beatrix Potter and the little Peter Rabbit books to find out what date yours might be, but based on the style of the book and also the choice of some of the words. So in here there's one sentence where he was crying and they changed the word, so now it says shed big tears. So the more recent ones say shed big tears, and I'm not actually sure what the other words was, but I don't know if it was cried or anyway, I'm sure it was the shed big tears. That's the current version. So if you find a version that has a different version on page 33, it might be the older one. So they're the ones to look for. But all the newer ones wrote shed big tears. I just remember that from a video I saw. That's all I can remember. I went and checked mine, and all mine were modern, so modern-ish. So that's of course the original book, and there's a whole range of those. All different titles that she wrote in the early 1900s. I think the last one was in the 1930s, but most of them were between 1900 and 1913 or a bit later. And then when she got married and had all her farms up in Cumbria, she was less prolific with her writing of stories. She wrote a few more since then, but most of her time was written before she was married. So I have books from the museums and the houses that have been kept in by the National Trust, where she lived and where she reared her sheep and her animals and all that sort of stuff, and where a lot of the pictures have come from. So I have those little books. Also have a Beatrix Potter art book. But we'll start with Peter Rabbit, because that's the main point of this exercise, is to have a look at Peter Rabbit before I start making my journal. So let's move the art book. Oh, I've also got a nursery rhyme book as well. So we'll have a look at the Bedtime Tales and Storytime collection. So most of these I've picked up from the op shop. I tend to pick up them up whenever they're under $5. I've managed to get some of these from an antique shop for 50 cents each, and sometimes op shops. But I'll just buy them whenever I've seen them, as long as they're a reasonable price. I've seen Beatrix Potter books for $10 and I won't pay $10. This was 2001, so it's a modern printing. Paper's very white. So this one's got the whole story, you know, on the pages. It's not a bad size. It's a little bit thick and heavy, you know, for reading a book to children. But it's got some damage on it. But there you go. There's the Peter Rabbit story. I think we all know the story where he goes into the garden, loses his jacket, jumps into a watering can, nearly gets caught by the farmer, and finally escapes. He's eaten too much, so he goes to bed without any supper because he just was he ate too much while he was out. And here's some of the other stories that this book's got. So foxes and badgers, mice, kittens, rabbits, ladybirds, chickens, ducks, dogs, occasional children. Oh yes, I did hear somewhere that the children are, I think they were the children of the farm manager at Hilltop. So she drew on, you know, the natural surroundings, her own pets. She had a Peter Rabbit pet, she had a Benjamin Bunny, and she had a mouse, and they all came on holiday with her. There's a collie. One of the stories has a collie, and that's her dog, her collie dog Kep. And so this one will be her dog Kep. So yeah, and tucking the Kep. So cute. Yeah, to be able to make stories, you know, of your own animals, and for them to sort of live forever. The gates were the garden gates of the place at the farms that she had, and they're all up in the Lake District in Cumbria, in the northwest of the UK. The Lake District is a beautiful area, and frogs. I don't know, is that a salamander? I don't know what that is. And a tortoise. Almost every kind of animal, fish that you can think of, are in her books. From the UK, are in her books. Lucy, Mrs. Tiggy Winkle. Yeah, there's not a lot of children in the books, mostly animals, but obviously there are some somewhere, in some places. Tale of Mrs. Tiggy Winkle. It's got Lucy in it. Yeah, gorgeous. This is a really lovely book, this one, because they're some of the pictures are really nice and large. And this is Benjamin Bunny getting a smack. Benjamin Bunny and the cats. So that's that book. Lovely book. It's not in perfect condition, but I'll just leave that one as it is on my good bookshelf. And then this one, Peter's Bedtime Tales. Similar sort of things, a few less of them. So yeah, it's actually very similar to that one actually. We have this nursery rhyme book with new reproductions from the original illustrations. Okay, this is 1986, nursery rhymes with some drawings to match. So I don't know if the drawings come from the books or whether they're different. I don't know all of this. I don't know if that's in the woman losing the shoe, so that's probably drawn for the nursery rhyme. Yeah, so such gorgeous pictures. And Mr. Pricklepin has never a cushion to stick his pins in. His nose is black, his beard is grey, he lives in an ash stump over the way. Ash being a tree. There's a bee, Hitty Pitty within the wall, Hitty Pitty without the wall. If you touch Hitty Pitty will bite you. Answer, a nettle. Yeah, I got stung by nettles once, I'll never forget. Not pleasant. Oh, they're riddles. As in nursery rhyme book, but they're actually riddles. Answer, an egg. Okay. Little mysteries. Little riddles. And pictures to go with them. Babbity Bowster Bumblebee. What funny name she has. Babbity Bowster. Okay, it's a really hard word for kids to say, isn't it? So this one's all of the nice to market. I love that picture. It's one of my favourite pictures. It's so cute and so colourful. To market. I don't know if it's in any other books or whether it's just for this nursery rhyme. I did say there was new illustration, so there might be some more unusual ones in this book, or ones that we haven't seen before. I went into my grandmother's garden. I think that's was the range in Hilltop Farm. Ladybird. Yeah, publisher's note. Beatrix Potter's fondness for nursery rhymes revealed itself in her early writing career, before her successful tale of Peter Rabbit had been published. She had written a second story for her ex-governess's little daughter Frida Moore, which was so crammed full of nursery rhymes that she very wisely decided to have the Tale of Gloucester privately printed the following year before submitting it to her publishers. Oh, yeah, so the man she was engaged to was Norman Warren. I'm just filming this part again, so I might end up repeating myself a few times, but I couldn't remember his name before in the other part. In 1905, she and her editor Norman Warren, who I believe she was engaged to, were collaborating on a collection of rhymes to be called Apple Dapple's Nursery Rhymes, but he died before the book could be completed. And a few were published in the 1917 edition of Apple Dapple's Nursery Rhymes. And then came Cecil Parsley's Nursery Rhymes. And what's this one's called? This one's just called Beatrix Potter's Nursery Rhyme book, so just a whole new version of it. Not printed at the time. So that's the nursery rhyme book. What else do I have to show you? So then we'll be going on to the art book and the books that I got when I went to visit Beatrix Potter at Hawkshead and Hilltop, her farms up in Cumbria. So we'll look through both those in a moment. All right, so Beatrix Potter's art. So let's have a look at this one. She did paint other things, just like many people from that era who could paint. They painted more than just animals or whatever. So, you know, she did some scenery. She was keen on mushrooms and fungus, and did quite a lot of that. She didn't go to school. She was educated at home and encouraged to paint and do art. Both her and her brother had artistic talent. I think her father did too. So yeah, very similar to Edith Holden, where, you know, art was encouraged in the family, but education for girls wasn't so much. Three Witches from Macbeth. This was painted on her 14th, just before her 14th birthday. Pencil and watercolour. So, as an artist, you know, I don't think she would have been or become famous, but it was her stories and her art that captured people's attention, and she had these little books printed. They were very, very popular. Oh my goodness, she liked bugs. Why do they have a fascination with bugs and beetles? Scottish Garden in 1882. Cute parrot. Of course, she had her own pet rabbits. Loved animals, as you can imagine. Rabbit spotting shed. How cute. And she actually did have a rabbit called Peter the Rabbit, and she had a Benjamin Bunny. So I assume she was drawing her own pet rabbits most of the time. Yeah, the family was very keen on their animals. They used to take them on holiday with them. They'd take their dog and their rabbits and even a mouse. She had a pet mouse that she took with her on holiday. And the family went from London to Cumbria, to the Lake District, for their holidays. So, of course, as a family, they loved the Lake District, and Beatrix herself fell in love with the area and bought properties, farms and land up there, and became quite, you know, ingrained in the farming life in Cumbria, breeding her own Herdwick, I think they're called Herdwick sheep, and she became president of the Herdwick Sheep Breeders Association during the war years, yeah, had properties up there and spent as much time as she could when she wasn't needed in London. And after her father died, she brought her mother up there to live up there as well, and bought her a cottage. So she spent, you know, a fair amount of time up in Cumbria, especially in her later years. Old Mr. Prickly Pen painted for the 1905 Book of Rhymes. She considered it about the best drawing I've ever made. In 1920 she wrote that. So these are some of her other art drawings, but usually taken from, you know, the local surroundings. So, you know, this garden gate is actually at where she lived, Lakefield in Surrey. There's another garden gate, I think, which is at Hilltop Farm. She would, you know, use the furniture and kitchens and things of her cottages and things that she lived in, the farms she lived in, for her drawings and sketches. And even the local village and things like that she would use for inspiration. Bedford Square, Alton Gardens, Kensington. Lyme Regis in 1904. It seems that her family, her father in particular, liked water, and they always took holidays close to water and places like Windermere and things like that, which we also did as a family. Lake Windermere was one of our favourite places to go on holiday when we lived in England. We would take a caravan and a boat and head out there for weekends. Oh, and she apparently had a duck that was like Jemima, and this duck they had used to wander off. So yeah, she gets her ideas from her own animals and pets that she's had over the time. So that's the art of Beatrix Potter. She loved dogs too. She had a dog called Kep, which was a favourite collie. And there was a collie at the farmhouse that she bought, which I think was the start of the inspiration for collies. So that's the art of Beatrix Potter. And then similar to that, I visited these places when I was back in the UK, because obviously Hilltop Farm and Hawks Head, places that she bought and owned, she left to the National Trust after her sort of second husband died. She had a fiance, Frederick, someone Warne. I don't think it was Frederick Warne. I forget. I think it was one of the sons of the Warne publishers was her fiance, but he died suddenly. And then a number of years later, she married a lawyer or solicitor, Wheeless. Yeah. Anyway, so when she died, she left her property to her husband, but to be until his death, and then when he died it would all go to the National Trust, and the property that he owned in his own right, he did the same thing. And so his solicitor's office has become a museum for Beatrix Potter. And the Hilltop Farm that she absolutely loved, but was never really quite big enough for her to live there. She did some extensions, but when she had her husband, she didn't want to do any more extensions, so she bought a different property for them to live in, and kept just the manager used to live in the Hilltop Farm, but now it's been kept as is, which is what she wanted. She was much a conservationist, and wanting to keep the beauty and natural surroundings of the village where she visited and lived, and the cottage that she had. She wanted to keep it as it was and not have it knocked down or rebuilt or done. So she bought this one instead, Castle Cottage in Storey, to live with her husband, William Heelis, and kept the Hilltop Farm as it was, with just a manager living in there. And now it houses some of her belongings and is basically kept as it was when she passed it to the National Trust after her death. So and then you can see that this is Hilltop Farm and the front doorway, and that's used in many of the scenes that she's painted. Hilltop Porch today, and this is from The Tale of Tom Kitten, and that's a Christmas card design. So this is all around Storey. Don't know Storey myself, doesn't ring a bell to me. I know Windermere, and I know I've been to this Hilltop place. So this is, it's just kept. It's kept how it was with her belongings. It's not just been decorated with period pieces. It's actually things that she chose, that she wanted to be in this house. Oh, we've got a sewing box similar to that. So yeah, so you can see, look, she's done the staircase here, and then from A Tale of Samuel Whiskers. I like the way it's, see, I wish I could do this. I really, really, really would love to be able to take the elements that are actually there and not do it. It's realistic, but it's not. She's changed the angle of the clock. She's receded the background of the window to make it disappear, and this area there, and so I don't know, and not made this so prominent. It's still prominent, but it's not, doesn't take over the picture, so you still see the cat, and then and the clock and the curtain, and oh, just love it. I love watercolors anyway, and yeah, I just love these old pictures. I've just got a doll's house here. Apparently it's not the same doll's house that was in The Tale of Two Bad Mice. It's a different one, but apparently the food that's in the doll's house was used in the story. I don't know all the stories myself. I don't don't retain it. Even if I did read them, I wouldn't retain it, but I just love the artwork. So that's the main reason why I love Beatrix Potter. And Hawk's Head was another property she owned. Can't remember the history of Hawk's Head, and she went there in 1882, and she stayed at the family stayed at this Ray Castle. So I think she bought a property close by later in life. There's Benjamin Bouncer, Benjamin Bunny there. I don't think there's a picture of Peter Rabbit, but it does say that she did take Peter Rabbit on holiday with her. So this is square at Hawk's Head in the 1880s, and that's Hawk's Head today. Courthouse. Ginger Pickles. I believe I've seen somewhere that's a shop front somewhere that from real life. So yes, beautiful countryside, the Lake District. It's one of my favourite areas in the world, but certainly in the UK. A few times that I've gone back to the UK, I've always gone back to the Lake District. As I say, I have fond memories of Troutbeck Farm, which she bought. So she obviously bought quite a lot of farms and places in this Cumbrian area to farm and preserve. She's judging Herdwicks at Keswick. I'm not sure if it's Keswick or Keswick. In the 1922. I thought it was during the war years that she became president of the association. I don't know, maybe it was the First World War, not the Second, I don't know. Oh yes, because she died during the Second World War in her 70s. So she got sick, she got bronchitis, and died a couple of days before Christmas. And her husband died a couple of years later, and that's when the whole lot went to the National Trust. So that's Peter Rabbit. Well, that's Beatrix Potter and Peter Rabbit. So this, of course, is the original older book. It has this lovely cover. Keep the cover on to keep it nice, but I actually prefer the actual book to the dust jackets. But I'll leave it on there because it just keeps it nice. So that's my little show and tell of my Peter Rabbit books. As you can see, I have quite a few. Yeah, I buy them from op shops whenever I see them, especially if they're ones I haven't, got before. There seems to be quite a lot of different varieties of Peter Rabbit books and collections and printings around there. So yeah, I just keep them and put them on the bookshelf. So I will be making a journal. So I just thought I would do an introductory video to get you started thinking about Peter Rabbit. Make a journal along with me if you'd like to, or just do some ephemera or whatever. But I'll be making a little collage journal. It will be a little bit bigger than the Four Seasons journal, but not as big as certainly not as big as Lotta. I'll not doing one that size again. It will probably be this size because I wanted a blue cover. So I think that one works because I can fold the pages in half and trim them up and create a signature or two. It's a bit thick. It's a bit thick. I didn't really want... I was hoping it was thinner than that. I really only want one signature. I'm not doing two signatures, so I may have to use this one. It's a bit tall though. I want a thin blue book. I may have to make my own cover and have it a little bit shorter than that. I mean, this kind of size is quite a good size. I might use this as the cover because I only want one signature. I'll probably take this one apart and give it a slightly bigger spine. Just use the front cover of it. We shall see. I am not up to that yet, so this is just to get us started. The next job for me is to buy some ink to print out some images. I'll use some original, but I will print out some images from Etsy purchases that I've made or will make, or print out the ephemera. I'm going to do some jelly printing, of course, because I'd really love to work with some blues and pinks. I do have quite a bit of blue jelly printing already, but I'm going to do some more specifically for Peter Rabbit. So lots of blue pages, and yes, so that's my my next project. So that's it from me for the moment. I will get this video out, and then over the next few days I'll get started on my Peter Rabbit journal. So I'll be back with more. Look forward to that. Thank you very much for watching. Thanks for subscribing and commenting. And I will see you in the next video. Thank you. Bye-bye.